You can go whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I'm a mother of a 30-year-old son with autism. He was diagnosed when he was 12, and I started looking for resources for him. I quickly learned that there's really no support for adults on the spectrum, especially those who don't qualify for persons with developmental disabilities funding. And although he was quite young at the time, I knew he was going to need support as an adult. I spent quite a few years looking for someone, somewhere, that would be the appropriate fit for him, and never found what I was looking for. I knew he needed to have some support after I was gone, but I also knew that he didn't need a group home and had the ability and the right to live on his own with appropriate supports. Unfortunately, those necessary supports are not there for him, even now, years later. In the course of my research, I heard of an autistic self-advocate, Michael, who was also working on a housing development. I reached out to him and learned that he had secured 8 units in a new cooperative that was being developed. He was able to get that commitment from the U of A Student Housing Group, who is one of the leading groups involved in the Sunhaven Housing Cooperative. With the help of the development company, Communitas, Autism Independent Living Association was conceived, and we were incorporated as a nonprofit in 2014. Unfortunately, the cooperative fell through, and the board of AILA was left with a huge void and lost a lot of our motivation. Members went their own way, and life went on. My son had moved in with a roommate, and although it was not an ideal situation, I was able to ignore the fact that he was not needing help, desperately didn't need help, desperately needed help. But life gets in the way of the best of intentions, and I didn't really spend much time focusing on housing over the next few years, even though the members and I still stayed in touch. But in 2018, my son had to move back home with me, and it really stressed me that autism is a lifelong disability. It does not go away when someone becomes an adult, and the need for support for a supportive housing community became even more intense. I did not want my son living in my basement for the rest of my life. He deserves to be able to live independently in a place of his choosing, with appropriate incomes and supports. Why does somebody with autism not have the same rights as any other young person? And I also wondered what would happen to him when I was gone. So I reached out to my connections in the autism community and started AILA again. A provincial housing committee had been started by the Sunith Foundation in Calgary. So I started attending those meetings, and through that met a developer from Red Deer who had an amazing model. And I decided to approach him and ask if he wanted to work with us in Edmonton. And to my surprise, he would. We were so excited and started down the road to our dream development. This time, we were going to be part of a larger community that would also provide supports to seniors and others with disabilities. We were planning on a 25 to 30 unit development, and our developer was already meeting with the city on options. We were talking with other associations and service providers, and things were moving along really well. But then COVID hit. And although we tried, service organizations had to shift and narrow their focus as funding dried up. Banks had to tighten their lending requirements. Supplies became tough to resource, and construction costs went through the roof. A developer unfortunately had to walk away from one of his developments in Red Deer and told us he was not able to secure funding to start up in Edmonton. So that was another huge loss for AILA, and really, we all really struggled with that. So although we lost our second attempt, we decided we were going to use the next few years to really strengthen our internal organization. We wanted to build our membership, create our social media presence, and really narrow our vision to what we wanted to accomplish. We wanted to be ready to hit the ground running once the world became normal again, and we are hitting the ground running. Some of our big initiatives in the last couple of years are very exciting. We have a health, wellness, and social committee that's led by 2 autistic adults. We have received a federal grant from the Community Housing Transformation Center to develop our resident council model. This model will be run by the autistic residents and their support network, and will ensure the sustainability and success of the development. We have been applying for grants and sponsorships to expand our training program to include training in conflict resolution, problem solving, advocacy skills, and independent living skills. And we have started a housing committee that is comprised of autistic adults, family and friends, developers, investors, and service providers. We are a volunteer organization with no paid staff, so this is a huge accomplishment for our board, and we're extremely proud that over half of our board is on the spectrum. Through the work of this committee, we have now reached the stage where we are raising capital costs to either buy land and build a development or to find a suitable apartment to retrofit. That is the reason why we are creating our capital campaign and telling our story, so that we can raise awareness of the huge need for affordable, supportive housing for adults with autism who do not need to live in a group care situation. We are setting our initial goal to raise $80,000 towards this purchase. We are using the Alberta crowdfunding platform so that we can capitalize on the funding that the Alberta government would commit. We are very excited to reach the next stage in our vision and are looking for people to help fund this important work. The need for suitable housing for autistic adults has been recognized by all levels of government. The Canadian Academy of Health Sciences has prepared a report entitled Autism in Canada, Considerations for Future Policy, Public Policy Development, and they include some summary points on appropriate housing for autism and provide some best practices. Our vision aligns with the practices identified in this document. The practices are individualized support, self-determination, skill development, promoting family involvement and stability, and fostering community inclusion. This is a very exciting time to reach a large underserved population and to be at the forefront of an amazing initiative to help autistic adults. Please consider reaching out to me to discuss this further, and if you can help, please let me know. Thank you so much.